All right, peace and much love. Welcome to the latest installment of Message from the Minista. I am Zin Uru, and I want to welcome you all here this week. What a great week this has been. I've had a really busy week this week, but throughout the week, as the week is revealing itself, certain little pieces of tonight's message from the Minista would just kind of come to me and come together. Always look for this in our lives, right? Like this is the way that the universe, that God speaks to us. There's these. It's like we can hear when I'm speaking right now. You hear me say this sentence: "Peace and much love. I am Zin Uru," and I'm saying that in a linear fashion. Peace and much love. I am Zin Uru. Well, listening to Spirit, listening to God speak to this, we might hear peace. And then other things happen in our day. And then we hear, and much love later on in the day. And then 2 days pass by. I am God. And you start hearing God's voice, but it's not in such a linear fashion. It's these like little pieces almost, these little moments of enlightenment, these little moments of inspiration. And those little moments, when they're put together, they form a message. So it's just a part of our sensitivity and our spiritual training, right? To be aware of those little moments. And it's like, for me, I can say my experience is that like things get very quiet. And whatever that I need to hear at that moment is experienced and heard. And then it's remembered without having to write it down. Now, other moments of inspiration come and we got to write it down. That's a lot of our higher self type information, right? We do get information from our higher selves through meditation, through study, and that kind of thing. But I'm talking about those messages from Big G, Big O, Big D, God, the great event, the sustainer of us all, the foundation of all reality, speaking words to us, speaking a vibrational frequency to us, speaking an inspiration to us throughout certain periods of time. And when we take those pieces and we put them together, they start forming the message. And I'm not saying don't take notes when those come. Take the notes, write them down. But my experience is that these mental notes, they just resonate to such a degree. It's like I don't forget them. And I forget a lot of things, I ain't gonna lie. I forget a lot of things, but I don't forget the important things, And the important things, those things that we don't forget, I really do know that when we leave this body, those are the things that we take with us, those things that we don't forget. And in my experience too, after 48 years on this wonderful, in this wonderful realm we call Earth, in my 48 years here, I would say that all the greatest experiences of my life were not manufactured by me. They weren't thought into existence by me. I was participating. I thought like, I want to go over there and then have this great experience. But the experience itself was far greater than my mind could even comprehend to create. And yet, the experience happened by the force of God, the great event, the creator of all that is. And those moments where God creates for us, those experiences that God creates for us, that God speaks to us, that speaks through our hearts, that we can remember when we're from like 3 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, 20 years old, and so on and so forth as we grow older. Those experiences from God, those are the same things that I was saying out earlier as we get these little pieces throughout the week that form a larger, a message. Those experiences throughout our lives, those monumental experiences, or those moments where those profound memories that we have that make us who we are and really know what life is about and really learn the lessons of who we are. Those two come together once we leave this body, and they will be a message in and of themselves, like pieced together. They become this like super message. And that's what we take with us when we leave. What a glorious, glorious way that is to be. So tonight's message from the Minista, it's circumstances change, but the fundamentals remain. Circumstances change, but the fundamentals remain. And what that means is that while we're going out through life and these circumstances are always changing in our lives, and we come to these events in our lives, and depending where we're at fundamentally with ourselves and with our God and with, our beliefs and our disciplines and these things, who we are fundamentally, our fundamental characteristics, we walk into these events that God's prepared for us, whether we're prepared or not. And those foundational, those fundamentals, those are either sound fundamentals that help us, or their fundamentals are all skewed and we're not using the fundamentals that God gave us in life, the disciplines, the peace, love, unity, having fun, the forgiveness, the divine performance, the patience, those type of things in our lives that are of the Spirit, those fundamental, foundational things, the aspects of our lives, those attributes of our lives, those performance of our lives become the foundation that we are walking on and standing on, whether the storms of life hit, whether it's, living one's purpose and avoiding the temptations of the environment. Because remember, when we've talked about this in the past, our arc, what is our aim? What are we aiming towards? What's our trajectory? Okay? So while we're moving towards our trajectory of our purpose, say, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in an experience that we didn't really plan on, but now we're experiencing it. What are the fundamentals of that character that you bring to that experience? God's providing the experience, but what you experience is actually up to you. What we experience is actually up to us. I want to welcome y'all here first and foremost. We got some reading to do tonight, got some definitions to do tonight, and this message to me, it's like the message is just, I keep going back to it. Circumstances change and fundamentals remain. That's it. That's the t-shirt lesson's over. Circumstances change, fundamentals remain. You know what that means already. We all know what that means already. Circumstances change, fundamentals remain. So the circumstances, let's say this, the circumstances of who's here tonight, say for instance, I see a lot of people here tonight and I want to welcome you all here. The circumstances change that brought certain people here and certain people are not here tonight. But the fundamentals remain that across all time and space, we are here together in spirit. This is being recorded. And what appears to be, to the uninitiated mind, an empty room, save for myself, some crystals, some plants, and a lot of inanimate objects. So what would appear to the uninitiated mind as an empty room or a room with only one person in it, to those of us with eyes to see and ears to hear, this room is packed. I mean, even my 40 a week already packs this place. But looking beyond that, some weeks we get 60, 80, 100 sometimes watching. And I don't know what those numbers will be in the future, because those in the future, I see you two here. You in the future, you're here in this room now. 100 years from now in the future, you're here in this room now. Unless all technology doesn't exist, what would that be like, right? But I think technology is going to be a lesson that we're going to be learning about for a while as humans. If technology ended right now, we wouldn't understand the lesson and purpose of technology. Everything that has a beginning has an end. So technology has a beginning, it's going to have an end. So the circumstance that we're living in with this technological world that we're living in, and the really profound things that technology can assist us with doing when it's used as a tool, as opposed to when technology is being used to oppress. It's being used as a tool of oppression, right? So we're seeing that right now, and because it's so new in humanity, we're just at the beginning stages of it. We'll experience its end. But if it ended tomorrow, like from the time I'm recording this video, from this address and time space right here named Zin Uru, if technology, we just woke up tomorrow and a solar flare just wiped out all electronics, I don't know that we would have lived the lesson to really see the fallacy of what artificial intelligence actually is, the fallacy of these computers and the fallacies of the internet. So everything that has a beginning has an end. So this technology is going to have an end. And I say that because I really do see people 100 years from now here in this audience. And I'm just wondering, like, how does the technology work and look and feel to them? Is it holographic? Is everybody like plugged in? Oh man, that would be awful. And if you're plugged into the matrix in the future, free yourself, Neo, free yourself. If you're plugged into the matrix right now, Neo, free thyself. Because our humanity, when it comes to humanity, technology is a circumstance of humanity, but it's not a foundation of our humanity. Humanity's foundations, long before technology existed, we've had human foundations that have always worked. They work throughout time. These are the fundamental principles of what it means to be a human being. Forgiveness, love, peace, charity, patience, gratitude. Those are the foundations. Health, love, awareness, and wealth. Peace, love, unity, having fun. The foundations of hip-hop. You see this in hip-hop, right? You see this in hip-hop culture because hip-hop culture's foundations are the same foundations that have been the foundations of humanity since humanity began. The foundations of hip-hop culture, those foundations, peace, love, unity, safely having fun, those foundations, those fundamentals, peace and prosperity, those fundamentals, for the hip-hop spiritual lifestyle, like in the gospel of hip-hop, health, love, awareness, and wealth, H-Law, those foundational, fundamental principles, they work across time and space, across culture, across so-called races. They can work for somebody in prison. They can work for somebody living in the inner city. They can work for somebody living in the country or a monk living in a monastery. Those fundamentals, those foundations, those things that we stand upon as humans, that never changes. It never changes. It's inherent in our DNA resonance. It's inherent to our spirit, to our consciousness that resonates this water body. So all the circumstances of the world can change, Kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. It happens. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall. Dictators rise, dictators fall. We've seen it. Go study the Tartarians, right? And study the most advanced culture just beneath our feet and right in front of our very eyes because everything we're being told is a lie. Like the last great reset, 150 years ago, 100 years ago. And the architecture that exists from Africa to Europe to Central America to South America to North America, to New Zealand to China to Japan. Like the same architecture existed everywhere on the world. And I'm not talking about the pyramids that existed everywhere on the world from whatever age that was, but like the last age that was here before us, been erased from history, right? But their foundations, we can still see their foundations, and from their foundations, we can see that what we've been told is history, what we've been taught as history in our school system is all a lie. 100% of it is a lie. Like you were never told the truth about anything in your entire life. None of us were. And really let that sink in for a moment. Because the foundations that the colonizer had given us is a lie. And if we stand on a fundamental, a foundation that's a lie, that's like Jesus saying, you know, the wise man built his house upon the rock, the foolish man built his house upon the sand. So when the winds and the storms came, the house that was built upon the rock stood, and the house built upon the sand washed away. So what is the foundation of your house? Is it the colonizer's lie? Because that's the house built on the sand. And in our unlearning process, you know, as we're unlearning the colonizer condition, like everything the government tells you is a lie and has been a lie for your life and your parents' life and your parents' parents' life. The lies of the church as an institution. Like when we're unlearning the lies of the colonizer, means we're building our house upon the rock because we're going back to who we are fundamentally as human beings, created in the image of God, the Creator, the living breath of God, the living voice of God, the living Word of God. That's our foundation as a humanity. So what we unlearn, I used to think, oh, you know, let's show them that Christopher Columbus was a lie. Let's show them that, you know, the Federal Reserve is a lie. Because, you know, the Federal Reserve is a private-owned corporation. You know, it's not a government-run institution. The IRS, private-owned corporation, has nothing to do with you know, the United States of America law. They're actually law breakers. The IRS, the Federal Reserve Bank, they're breaking constitutional law of the United States of America. Right? So the banking system's a lie. The way money works is a lie. The way church, what the church predicts as prophecy from the Holy Bible, lie. The way that the color of Jesus being a white man, lie. You know, lie, lie, lie. That's all they do is lie, lie, lie. And I used to think that, well, let's start there. Let's just start with, you know, showing each one, and we'll show how each one is a lie. And I'm not saying the Holy Bible's a lie. No, there's truth. And if you see the truth of the Holy Bible and the truth of the living Christ, you don't need no institution to tell you what is or what isn't. I'm not saying you don't need teachers. I'm an advocate for teachers and mentors and ministers and those things. But when we take it all at once, as opposed to like taking each lie and unlearning each lie, and we just start at the top and we just say, and we just see the whole picture from the eagle eye perspective, that like everything we were taught in our life is a lie. And we were and are still being lied to by master manipulators and liars with no soul, because they are not human beings at their core. Touched on this last week a little bit, but the colonizer is not a creator. The colonizer is not a creator. The colonizer does not have a foundation of creation to build upon. Everything the colonizer does will forever and always be a house built on sand. But because they are so incredibly dumb and inefficient at what they do. They have to lure us because they can't create. They have to lure us, the true humans made in the image of the Most High God, the creator of all that is, in human form. We can create. We are creators. We are the creator. They've got to get us to do their dirty work for them because they can't even do it on their own. So when we say we will no longer enable their lie, and we will stand in our truth on the foundation of our truth, that we were created in the image of our Creator, who is our Father, who is our Mother, who is our loving God, our nurturing parent. If your parent is God, what does that make you? What does that make me? What does that make all of us? But Zin, God created everybody, so God's the creator of everything and everyone. Yes. But do we really understand and know the true nature of the reality that we live in? God created the devils too. Why? To strengthen us, to resist us. This floor resists my feet. It's too solid. I don't go through this solid foundation of a floor. There's cement, hardened cement. Cement just keeps hardening and getting harder and harder over time. There's a cement foundation underneath my feet and some fake plastic that looks like wood as a tile or as a linoleum or whatever they call it. When I stand on this, it's not like the air. It's not like the emptiness. It's not like soft, like say, like this cloth right here of this Bruce Lee poster. If I tried to stand on that, if that was stretched out and I tried to stand on that, I would sink right through it. I would fall right through it. It wouldn't resist me, but for just a little second before it just ripped and tore, my weight would crash it down to the floor. So we need the resistance here on earth to sustain who we are. But this is where we really get into it, and this is where we see the perspective, and this is where we wake up to our empowerment, and we say to the lies of the devil, no more. But those things, this colonizer, anything that's going on in the world, anything in your personal life, don't got to be the colonizer, but the people you work with, your family members, poverty consciousness, whatever it is that we're struggling with in our daily lives, that resistance, we're sustained by that resistance. We need that resistance. The seed, the sprout, it needs the resistance of first it needs the resistance of the shell, right? And then the plant breaks through the shell, right? And then it's got to push through the dirt. It needs the resistance of the dirt, and then it needs the resistance of the crust of the earth, and it's got to break up through the earth, and it's got to sprout up, and then it's got to deal with the wind and the rain and animals and everything. But as it gets all that resistance, what it does is it creates a stronger tree as it's growing towards the light. So don't look at resistance like, really what I'm saying here, and on a deeper level, resistance is the foundation of life. And what is the resistance? Well, our resistance is the resistance to the world. We can resist the world too, to strengthen ourselves. Doesn't strengthen the world. When we resist the world, we strengthen ourselves. It weakens the world. When we resist the temptations of the world. When we say, I don't need what the world is having to offer me. Why don't I need what the world has to offer me? Because I've come to a place where my holy sustainer is found within. The holy temple is within. God is within me. That is my foundation. That's the foundation I will stand upon, is the living, true and living Word of God. Let me stand on that foundation. And so when the circumstances change around my life, my fundamental principles of standing on the foundation of God, allows me to enter into environments where God would have me go to do the work of God. Where are you going to go to do the work of God? God has prepared a way for you. Will you be prepared when that way arrives? Because preparation starts right now. If you're an MC, the preparation doesn't begin like you don't say, yo, I want to be an MC. And then all of a sudden you're in front of 1,000 people and you've never wrote a rhyme, you never recorded, you never rapped in front of 10 people, you never rapped in front of your homie to make sure you were dope before you even got out of the bedroom. You haven't rapped to your friends, you haven't rapped at a party, you haven't freestyled with the cypher, you haven't done any of those things, but somebody just hands you a mic, right? And says, yo, rock that crowd. And you're like, I never even wrote a song before. It sounds like the music industry, kind of. I ain't calling out no names, but we know who what real MCs are and who's just pretending. But the point being is that when we say and we start preparing for, when we start saying who we are, and we start defining who we are, we start defining what we are, and what we're going to stand on, God's going to prepare a way for that to happen, like that stage, and then you're going to be in front of 1,000 people, and you're not prepared. But God prepared the way for you, but you weren't prepared when you got there. When we get to that spot, we better be prepared. When God prepares a way for us, we better be prepared individually and word up collectively. And right now, my nobility, I can tell you collectively as hip hop, we are not prepared. I've been saying, big up to Mondo One. I don't know if you've been watching these every week, but Mondo One will tell you, like from day one, I was always asking this question: are you really prepared for the days to come? Are you? And I say it on my raps. You can hear it on the first album, on New Religion, on the Way of Peace album. There's a song called New Religion. I say, are you really prepared for the days to come? And then most albums after that, I would say it year after year after year. Are you really prepared for the days to come? That's the fundamentals. That's the preparation. That's the work. Are you really prepared for the days to come? Because God's preparing a way for us. Will we be prepared when that way arrives? Are we really prepared for the promised land right now? No, we have to prepare ourselves for the promised land. I'm prepared for the promised land because I'm living in the promised land. Those of us who are prepared for the promised land are already living in the promised land. And we know there's not a lot of us, or we would know. I would know more of you. But I know those of you who are living in the promised land with me right now, word up. Why? Because you've been preparing yourself and you can continue to prepare. Preparation is a continuous act. We prepare for the day through like a morning prayer or some kind of a morning ritual, morning singing, morning, what is it we do in the morning to prepare for our day? And I say morning, but my morning is 1 p.m. I get up at 1 p.m. So my morning starts when most people are eating lunch, right? But that's when I start my day. I start my day off with the peace and the prosperity. I start my day off with speaking to the intelligence of the day, like we talk about in the gospel of hip hop. So when we start our day, we just get these fundamental things going. We get these fundamental beliefs going, these fundamental disciplines going. And when we hit those fundamental disciplines, no matter what the circumstance in our life is, we're prepared. Let's read a couple definitions here. I thought it was interesting this week to bring up circumstance, the definition of circumstance. Let's put it up here on the screen. The definition of circumstance and the definition of foundation. As you can see here, circumstance, very interesting. As a noun, circumstance. Definition number 1, a condition or fact attending an event and having some bearing on it, a determining or modifying factor. So circumstance isn't just the event itself, it's the determining and modifying factor of that event. So like I was saying earlier, God prepares the way for us. We find ourselves in a certain circumstance, but the circumstance isn't really the event itself, but it's being present, attending the event, and then what you're doing or what that event is doing to you has some kind of a bearing on it, or a determining or modifying factor upon like why we are there. Definition number 2 of circumstance: a condition or fact that determines or must be considered in the determining of a course of action. So see, we say that a condition or fact that determines or must be considered in the determining of a course or action. We would say that like, say, weather circumstances. You know, what's the circumstance of the weather? So we would know if we're going to go out for the night. If it's raining, we're going to need to prepare ourselves for the circumstance of rain. If it might rain, we're going to want to take our raincoat, our umbrella, etc. Definition number 3, often circumstances, the sum of determining factors beyond willful control. They were a victim of circumstance. Look at that, a victim of circumstance. The sum of determining factors beyond willful control. And this is why we say circumstances change, fundamentals remain. If somebody is a victim of circumstance, more than likely, their fundamentals were not right. Their fundamentals had changed, they were not living in their discipline. They were not prepared for the circumstance. Definition number 4, circumstances, financial status or means. Oh yeah, what's your financial circumstance? You know, oh, they found themselves in some wonderful circumstances. Definition number 5, detail accompanying or surrounding an event as in a narrative or series of events. So those are the circumstances, they say, the circumstances that led up to this event, the circumstances that led up to you listening to the message from the minister today. What circumstances led you to this today? Was it just the circumstance of seeing the notification on the YouTube page, seeing me posted on the Facebook page, and you click on it, and then you can kind of chase those circumstances back. The circumstance of hear me actually recording it, and then the circumstance that led me to teaching about circumstances today, So those circumstances are like the details accompanying or surrounding an event as in a narrative or a series of events. Definition number 6, formal display, a ceremony, the pomp and circumstance of a coronation. Interesting. Yeah, the pomp or circumstance of doing a dope show. A particular incident or occurrence. That's definition number 7. A circumstance is a particular incident or occurrence. And I like this one. Your arrival was a fortunate circumstance. That's a particular incident or occurrence. The synonyms are occurrence, circumstance, circumstancing, circumstances, to place in particular circumstances or conditions, to situate. The idioms, under no circumstances, in no case, never, under, or in the circumstances, given these conditions, such being the case. And we've all heard that, well, I don't know if we've all heard it, but pretty much under no circumstances will I ever, under no circumstances will I allow you to ever drive my car again, So that circumstance is right there. And let's just jump right over to foundation. Because we know I think we have a pretty good idea what these circumstances are now. And foundation, it's a noun. The act of founding, especially the establishment of an institution with provisions for future maintenance. The act of founding, well, that would be the founding, they'll say the founding fathers of hip hop. Kool Herc and Africa Bambaataa and Chief Rocker Busy Bee and Cindy Campbell and, the Cold Crush Brother. These are the founding fathers and mothers of hip-hop culture, especially the establishment of an institution. Hip-hop culture itself is an institution. The Temple of Hip-Hop is an institution. Our foundation in the Temple of Hip-Hop is the teacher and the Gospel of Hip-Hop and the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace. And hip-hop is consciousness, 3 natures of hip-hop. Hip-hop is culture, hip-hop is product. That's the foundation of the Temple of Hip-Hop. Definition 1, looked at that again. The act of founding, especially the establishment of an institution with provisions for future maintenance. What is future maintenance? We say it all the time. That's preservation. So the act of founding, especially the establishment of an institution with provisions for future maintenance, that's wisdom right here. This is a great definition, because just in that very first definition, we see the wisdom that to start an institution, there must be provisions for the future maintenance, the sustenance, the sustaining, the maintaining, and the preservation of what has been established. How has that institution been established, and what will the future maintenance be? How will we, as hip-hop culture as an example, how do we preserve hip-hop? By preserving the hip-hoppa, that's you and I. How do we preserve the hip-hoppa? Well, we've got to have a strong foundation to stand on. Definition number 2, the basis on which a thing stands, is founded, or is supported. These are principles. We're going to read the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace as our foundation tonight for hip-hop culture. The basis on which things stands, or is founded upon, or is supported. See, synonymous at base. The base level. The basics. The base. Boom. Music. The foundation of great music is the base. 3A, funds for the perpetual support of an institution and endowment. That's a foundation. Like, they'll have the Martin Luther King Foundation, and they will, raise money for, that foundation will raise money for, whatever the charity work that the Martin Luther King Foundation is going to do work towards. That's a foundation. An institution founded and supported by an endowment, that's a foundation too. A foundation garment, that's interesting. That gets very biblical right there, foundation garment. Our light body is our foundation garment. When they say when Adam and Eve fell, they were cast into the flesh. They woke up in these fleshly bodies. No more their energetic light bodies, their crystal light bodies that they had at one time. A foundation garment. And it means other things, literally in apparel, what is the foundation of the garment? A cosmetic used as a base for facial makeup. Oh yeah, these girls be using a lot of that sometimes, huh? Okay, so word foundation, the act of founding, those would be the founders, the fundamentals too. I've been saying fundamental a lot on here, and because that fund, that's the same word. It's spelled a little bit different, but it's the fundamentals of that. It's the foundation, or the fundamentals of, I was thinking about that, the foundation of a good baseball player. A great baseball player knows the fundamentals of the game. He knows, to put his other hand behind the mitt. He knows how to stand in front of the ball so the ball rolls up out of the glove. His body doesn't, his body, the ball bounces off of his body, so the ball stays in front of him. So the foundations is to get as much of the body in baseball. The foundation is to get as much of the body in front of the ball, so it doesn't go further than you. The fundamentals in, the foundation of a great basketball player. What made Michael Jordan so great? There's a lot of contributing factors that made Michael Jordan so great, but what was his greatest attribute was Michael Jordan's fundamentals are so sound. He has sound, time-tested techniques and fundamentals of how to guard, of how to create space, of how to position the body to shoot, how to manage, his breath when he's moving. All of these things, how to manage his diet. All these things go into, his fundamentals of the game are what made him so great. He built off those fundamentals of the game. The teacher, KRS-One, he's the greatest MC of all time. And why is he so great? If you really study hip-hop culture and you really study the techniques of the MC, his fundamentals are flawless. And because his fundamentals, the teacher stays in his zone, this fundamental zone as an MC. And that's his foundation, of which all of the other techniques and all of the different rhyme styles and all of the different rhythmic patterns that he's used over the years all go back to the foundation, the fundamental principles, the foundational principles of him as an MC. The party rock style. He brings the party rock style. He brings the breathwork style that each song that he does, he doesn't run out of breath when he's spitting it live. So we can see in life, like if you're a B-boy, a B-girl, you're an artist, you're whatever it is that you're doing in life, make sure the fundamentals are there of whatever it is you're mastering. Martial arts, the fundamentals. It's always the fundamentals, and then those fundamentals are built off of it. The fundamentals of how to throw a strike, and then all the other parts get built into the fundamentals on how to throw a strike and put the hip in it. But like if you're off balance and something's coming at and you got to throw that strike, and you haven't practiced like throwing a blocking here and then coming up over here. But the foundational principles are there. How's the footwork? Are the feet planted? Are you putting the hip into it? Are you putting the waist into it? You know, boom, boom. You want to move. You want that hip to go into it. You want to whip. You don't just move the arm and punch. That could work, but like watch this. See the difference? Well, I can feel the difference, but one is if you just swing the hand, it's going to have a certain amount of force, but if you're swinging the whole body, behind that, you're pulling all that weight of the energy of that body behind the strike. Those are foundational principles of boxing, of karate, of kung fu, of jiu-jitsu, ninjutsu, jeet kune do. These foundation fundamental principles, and this is at the temple of hip hop, where we go even before learning the fundamentals of rapping, learn the fundamentals of life, health, love, awareness, and wealth, peace, love, unity, having fun. Perform discipline, perform patience, perform charity, that divine performance. You get those fundamental things of what it means to be a human in place. People are going to just like you and be drawn to you magnetically. And then as you're learning and going through the learning process of emceeing and learning the fundamentals of emceeing, your fundamentals of a human being are only going to be there to enhance and assist everything you do. Courage, focus. They're meant to enhance what you're doing. So get those fundamentals. The fundamentals of diet. I was thinking about this week. This one moment started this idea this week. The circumstances change, but the fundamentals remain, right? Oh man, I've been sensitive. Really picking up a lot of energy, around my environment. And I was like, man, I'm having to meditate a lot and exercise more than normal just to kind of keep my nervous system in check. And I was like, man, this isn't really normal. I think there might be I prayed. I was like, yo, God, like, what's up? What can I do in my life? So, I'm not picking up on so many people's energy around my environment. I'm not a shut-in. Like, I like to go be around people, at certain times, and I work with people on the phone and this, that, and the other, and so I don't, I'm picking up on all this nervous energy from people because people are having a lot of nervous energy with what's going on in the world right now, and I'm intuitive. I pick up on energy like that, and so I'm not going to shut myself off from it, God. So how can I improve my life? Like what can I do to not be so susceptible to other people's energies, God? And all of a sudden, the next afternoon, like that afternoon, zinc. I was like, zinc, huh? Zinc. And my mom had said she got some zinc. And she got these organic, all natural chewable zinc things. And I was thinking, man, I know zinc is like the most important mineral in the body. And I was like, man, that's like a foundational principle or mineral of the body, a fundamental principle, a foundational principle of the body is zinc. And we don't get enough of it in our diet. As a matter of fact, zinc is one of the greatest things to boost our immune system. Our immune system loves zinc. But why does our immune system love it? Well, I started studying zinc, and this doctor is saying, well, zinc is the mental health, it's the mental health mineral. And I was like, whoa, interesting. And then he gets into saying that zinc helps the chemicals of the brain balance. When we don't have enough zinc in our body, our brain chemicals are unbalanced. And so we'll actually go form addictions like to try and rebalance the chemical in our brain when all we need is zinc. And so I was like, well, that's great. It helps the brain. Zinc, incredible. And I like it because Z-I-N-C, Zen Christ. I am Zen with my Christ, how I live my life, how I shine my light. But when I took the zinc, and I'm studying zinc a little more, and then he says, well, the zinc is also great for the nervous system. It regulates the nervous system. It balances the nervous system. I was like, whoa. So all of a sudden, this just one fundamental mineral in our body balances our neurological system and our nervous system, our whole entire neurological system, which is the way the brain interacts with the body. And it balances gut health, where our immune system, like 5% or whatever it is, of our entire immune system is in our gut. Our gut is our immune system. The body is the gut. The whole body is made from the gut. So this one mineral, it balances the adrenals. This one mineral, zinc, Z-I-N-C, zinc. This one mineral is the most important mineral to our body. And I don't, most important is like a Western concept that, because everything's important. If your iron's imbalanced, if your iron is imbalanced, that if you don't have the mineral of iron in our body, our blood doesn't work right. So you can have all the zinc and not have enough iron, or have all the zinc and iron but not have enough melatonin. Our body naturally creates melatonin, but all this electronic devices in our environment and all this blue light at night that we're getting from our computer screens and from these light bulbs and things like that, it's messing with the melatonin, though. So when people aren't sleeping right, when people aren't sleeping right, they're getting nervous, right? So melatonin, it's not as much of a mineral, but these type of things that are foundational to our lives, but the zinc, a fundamental mineral to our body, iron, fundamental, magnesium, another one, fundamental for our body. Our bodies don't get the magnesium that they're supposed to be getting. And these fundamentals, these foundationals, they're not, you can get something that has all of it in it, or just get the different, get the different supplements. And you invest, $15-20 on ourselves a month, $30 on ourselves a month, just for our nervous system health and the basic foundational parts of our body, that we don't even got to pay no doctor bills, or I don't have no health insurance. I don't have life insurance either, but I don't have no health insurance. My health insurance is my discipline. My health insurance is my diet. My health insurance is my exercise. My health insurance is what minerals are in my body. My health insurance, I'll spend my money on organic food and drive an older car, a used car, a 5,000, whatever, just a car. I'd rather spend money on food than anything else, because that's the health insurance. High quality food, high quality ingredients, high quality sourced ingredients, organically sourced ingredients. So we don't suffer from the Alzheimer's. We don't suffer from the cancers. We don't suffer from all the things that come from eating that standard American diet. Standard American diet, SAD. That's the acronym for SAD. Standard American diet, what people, drinking these energy drinks and, 50, 40 grams of sugar, a processed white sugar, and then drinking these things with just like chemical waste concoctions in them, and eating these chemical waste things from fast food, and, eating these chemical waste products that they sell as snacks at the grocery store from the mainstream. It's chemical waste. They're feeding people or putting it in their bodies instead of the fundamental minerals of life that God created. People are putting chemical waste from the colonizer's sandy little beach that's about to wash away. and watch, I keep saying. Those who stand with the New World Order will fall with the New World Order. Those who stand with the colonizer will fall with the colonizer. When the rains and storms of life hit, which they haven't even really started yet, we're getting hit with their BS. They're trying to hit us. They're trying to attack us. Like, they're trying to attack people's immune systems. They're trying to attack people's spiritual immune systems. We talked about that months ago. So we're under these bombardments, and these circumstances got us under attack, but those of us who stand on a strong foundation, we're unperturbed, we're unmoved. We are centered. That's divine phallic masculine, my nobility. Why else would they want to make masculinity so limp? Why else would they want to make masculinity so people are so, just condemning masculinity, saying masculinity is toxic. My nobility. The phallic masculinity of standing strong for a purpose. That's real talk. And this isn't man or women, there's feminine and masculine in everything in nature, including us. So for them to try and vilify masculinity, it's because masculinity is solid like a rock. So we stand upon the rock, and when the storms come, our unperturbed selves, we remain. And those who didn't have the balance of their masculinity, the femininity of the water washes them away. Where for those in the masculine, the feminine of the storm, the femininity of the waters hitting us just cleanses the city. It cleanses it cleanses what we've built upon that foundation. That's what the purifier spoken of, Quetzalcoatl and the Hopi prophecies about the purifier and the Mayan prophecies about the coming of the purifier. The purifier is the circumstance. That's the purifier. And those of us who can stand on our foundational principles while the circumstance is happening, circumstances change, but our fundamentals remain. When we stay in those fundamentals, we remain and we are cleansed in this process, the process. We're cleansed. That's the purifier that's happened right now. The purifier that's happening in the world right now is cleansing us. The devil works for God. Satan, the name Satan means the accuser. So those who are always accusing us of this, if somebody's accusing you of something you didn't do, that's Satan. That's a Satan in your life. By definition, they are a Satan. So when the government's accusing one group of people who's innocent, that means that the government is Satan. The accuser, accusing the brethren day and night. Who is it that accuses me? Let's get to our reading tonight. We got a couple of readings to do. We're going to be reading from the Gospel of Hip Hop, and we're going to be reading from the I Ching Book of Change, and both of them short readings. The Gospel of Hip Hop was just going to be the Hip Hop Declaration. Okay, let's read the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace first, because this is the foundation of hip hop culture. And we're going to kind of shift, and then we're going to bring back around everything we talked about earlier, and the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace specifically kind of in our closing. You're going to see this because, we've got an idea now in our personal lives that, as circumstances change around us, that if we have foundational, fundamental principles in our life, we'll just remain. And so when God prepares us, we're prepared for the event ourselves. We prepare ourselves for the event, for the way God has prepared for us. And God prepares us for those events too. God's training us. God's the one with the mitts going left, right, cross, foo, foo, foo. God's the one showing us, okay, no, this is how you do it. This is how you write a rhyme. That's God showing us, either through other people or just through divine inspiration, or both. But I thought this one was very interesting tonight because I don't usually read from this copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop. I don't know if you can see it on camera here. I got like a brand new one. I've got Stat and Ambitious. If you're watching this, I got your Gospel, and the one I read from every week down there. But this is the one that sits on my altar. This is the first one, the copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop that I got. A very proud moment in my life because we had carried around this one. Just a few of us had this copy of it, and using the techniques in this, using the fundamental techniques in this, brought this into existence. And then, using the fundamental techniques of this has brought a lot of things into existence, including these message from the ministers. So this has kind of been the fundamental, foundational piece that I've been sitting on for a while. And man, this thing is just there. It's like every page is a memory, from the notes to the, to the drawings. Welcome to the evolution, the Mayan calendar, the Zolkin. Just pictures and drawings people have given me, and look at this. What is this? January 8th, 2000, and man, it's just this is an old KRS ticket, 2005. Yep, January 8th, 2005. 2009, January 8th, 2009 was the, this focus there is a little off. But January 9th, 2005 was the roundtable discussion. This was the night, this is the ticket. I've saved it all this time from the concert the night before the roundtable discussion, and got to see Kool Herc, Grandmaster Kaz, Kool Moe Dee, Busy Bee, the teacher, and a lot of people from Project Blowed, Medusa, and a lot of from down in Los Angeles. But the Pioneers rocked out that night. That was a great show that night. Kool Herc rapped. He went and pointed to the mic and grabbed the mic from the teacher, and then Kool Herc started rapping like Zeus up there. Well, Hercules rapping like Hercules up there. It was great, but foundation for my hip-hop culture, as a whole hip-hop cultural specialist, this is a fundamental piece and a foundational piece of how I became a minister even. I could go on and on, like what rose hips and barley hops mean to the body. That's a whole other lesson. Well, let's get to the hip-hop declaration of peace. This is a little bit different because as I was thinking this week what I wanted to read from the Gospel of Hip-Hop, when I did karate and I did jiu-jitsu, we would have the instructors, both my senseis, and they never knew each other, completely different cities. But they both were very big on fundamentals and foundations. And so, so what we would do is every, month or two, we would go over the basic fundamentals that we learned as white belts, even as we, we're becoming green belts and brown belts, and all the belts would get together and go through the fundamentals of the white belts, so it would keep all of our other practices sharp. And so I thought this week would be a great opportunity to do this, for the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. And this year's theme for Hip Hop Appreciation Week is peace, as you know, and the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace we're putting forward this year. So I thought, what a great time to just read this with this in mind. This is the foundation of hip hop culture. The Hip Hop Declaration of Peace is the foundation of hip hop culture. This is what we stand on. So as circumstances change, this is what remains. This book has a lot of great advice, but until it's lived, it just remains in the book. And until this is lived collectively, the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace, It just remains in the book, but it is being lived collectively because there are millions of people who have this in their hands and who've heard about the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. This is the foundation. This is the fundamentals that remains the same. This is what remains. Put it up here on the screen, the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace. The Hip Hop Declaration of, and I'm not going to read the whole, there's a whole overstanding, there's like 4 or 5 pages of an intro. If you have a copy of the Gospel of Hip Hop, there's your homework for the week. Just read the intro. But let's just read, this is what we are standing on right now. This is what remains, no matter the circumstances. This Hip Hop Declaration of Peace guides hip hop culture towards freedom from violence and establishes advice and protection for the existence and development of the international hip-hop community. Through the principles of this Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace, we, hip-hop culture, establish a foundation of health, love, awareness, and wealth, peace and prosperity for ourselves, our children, and their children's children forever. For the clarification of hip-hop's meaning and purpose, or when the intention of hip-hop is questioned, or when disputes between parties arise concerning hip-hop, hip-hoppers shall have access to the advice of this document, the Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace, as guidance, advice, and protection. The first principle, hip-hop. Hip-hop is a term that describes our independent collective consciousness. Ever growing, it is commonly expressed through such elements, and these are our foundation fundamental elements: breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. Those are the 9 elements. Wherever and whenever these and future elements and expressions of hip-hop culture manifest, this Hip-Hop Declaration of Peace shall advise the use and interpretation of such elements, expressions, and lifestyles. Once again, my nobility, we are talking here about the fundamentals that remain. These are the fundamental principles of hip-hop culture. So as the circumstances of the world remain, we stand upon these fundamental principles. Second principle, hip-hop culture respects the dignity and sanctity of life without discrimination or prejudice. Without discrimination, my nobility, or prejudice. Hip-hoppers shall thoroughly consider the protection and the development of life over and before the individual decision to destroy or seek to alter its natural development. And that's the colonizer. They want to destroy and alter the natural development of life through technology. They want that technology in us. They want us to become technology. Be wise, my nobility. This foundational principle, this fundamental principle right here. Third principle. Hip-hop culture respects the laws and agreements of its culture, its country, its institutions, and whomever it does business with. Hip-hop does not irresponsibly break laws and commitments. And look at the wording here. Hip-hop does not irresponsibly break laws and commitments. What does that say? We actually can responsibly break laws and commitments when they harm others or ourselves. The fourth principle, hip-hop is a term that describes our independent collective consciousness. You can meditate on that one, my nobility. Highlight it, look at it. Hip-hop is a term, and look at the spelling. Hip-hop as consciousness there is a term that describes our independent collective consciousness. As a conscious way of life, we acknowledge our influence on society, especially on children. Talk about the fundamentals. This is what gets passed to the children. And we shall forever keep the rights and welfare of both in mind. Hip-hop culture encourages womanhood, manhood, sisterhood, brotherhood, childhood, and family. We are conscious not to bring any intentional disrespect that jeopardizes the dignity and reputation of our children elders, and ancestors. Fundamentals here. These are the fundamentals. Fifth principle, the ability to define, defend, and educate ourselves is encouraged, developed, preserved, protected, and promoted as a means towards peace and prosperity and toward the protection and the development of our self-worth. Through knowledge of purpose and the development of our natural and learned skills, hip-hoppers are encouraged to always present their best works and ideas. Put your best foot forward, my nobility. Sixth principle, hip-hop culture honors no relationship, person, event, act, or otherwise wherein the preservation and further development of hip-hop's cultures, principles, and elements are not considered or respected. Hip-hop culture does not participate in activities that clearly destroy or alter its ability to productively and peacefully exist. Hip-hoppers are encouraged to initiate and participate in fair trade and honesty in all negotiations and transactions. Seventh principle, the essence of hip-hop is beyond entertainment. The elements of hip-hop culture may be traded for money, honor, power, respect, food, shelter, information, and other resources. However, hip-hop and its culture cannot be bought, nor is it for sale. Hip-hop cannot be transferred or exchanged by or to anyone for any compensation at any time or at any place. Hip-hop is not a product. Hip-hop is the priceless principle of our self-empowerment. Eighth principle, companies, corporations, non- and not-for-profit organizations, as well as individuals and groups that are clearly benefiting from the use, interpretations, and or exploitation of the term hip-hop, an example, hip-hop, and the expressions and terminologies of hip-hop, an example, hip-hop, are encouraged to commission and or employ a full-time or part-time certified hip-hop cultural specialist to interpret and answer sensitive cultural questions regarding the principles and proper presentations of hip-hop's elements and culture relative to business, individuals, organizations, communities, cities, as well as other countries. Ninth principle, May 3rd is Rap Music Day. Hip-hoppers are encouraged to dedicate their own time and talent to self-development and for service to their communities. Every third week in May is Hip-Hop Appreciation Week. During this time, hip-hoppers are encouraged to honor their ancestors, reflect upon the cultural contributions, and appreciate the elements and principles of hip-hop culture. November is Hip-Hop History Month. Actually, November is just 2 days away. During this time, hip-hoppers are encouraged to participate in the creating, learning, and honoring of hip-hop's history and historical cultural contributions. Fundamentals right here, my nobility. Rap Music Day, Hip-Hop Appreciation Week, and Hip-Hop History Month. Fundamentals towards hip-hop culture. Once again, we're talking about fundamentals. This is what remains. As the storms and the seasons of life and circumstances change, these fundamentals remain. 10th principle, hip-hoppers are encouraged to build meaningful and lasting relationships that rest upon love, trust, equality, and respect. Hip-hoppers are encouraged not to cheat, abuse, or deceive their friends. That's so foundational, not to cheat, lie, or abuse your friends. That's a fundamental that will never change. These are timeless fundamentals, timeless principles. 11th principle, the hip-hop community exists as an international culture of consciousness that provides all races, tribes, religions, and styles of people a foundation for the communication of their best ideas and works. Hip-hop culture is united as a multi-skilled, multicultural, multi-faith, multiracial people committed to the establishment and the development of peace. 12th principle, hip-hop culture does not intentionally or voluntarily participate in any form of hate, deceit, prejudice, or theft at any time. At no time shall hip-hop culture engage in any violent war within itself. Those who intentionally violate the principles of this declaration of peace are intentionally reject its advice, forfeit by their own actions the protections set forth herein. The 13th principle. Hip-hop culture rejects the immature impulse for unwarranted acts of violence and always seeks diplomatic, nonviolent strategies in the settlement of all disputes. Hip-hoppers are encouraged to consider forgiveness and understanding before any act of retaliation. War is reserved as a final solution when there is evidence that all other means of diplomatic negotiations have failed repeatedly. The 14th principle. Hip-hoppers are encouraged to eliminate poverty, speak out against injustice, and shape a more caring society and a more peaceful world. Hip-hop culture supports a dialogue and actions that heals divisions in society, addresses the legitimate concerns of humankind, and advances the cause of peace. The 15th principle. Hip-hoppers respect and learn from the ways of nature, regardless of where we are on this planet. Hip-hop culture holds sacred our duty to contribute to our own survival as independent, free-thinking beings in and throughout the universe. This planet, commonly known as Earth, is our nurturing parent, and hip-hoppers are encouraged to respect nature and all creations and inhabitants of nature. That 15th principle right there goes against every colonizer and all their devices and all their potions and everything that they're trying to do and all their trickery right there. 16th principle. Hip-hop's pioneers, legends, teachers, elders, and ancestors shall not be inaccurately quoted, misrepresented, or disrespected at any time. No one should profess to be a hip-hop pioneer or legend unless they can prove with facts and or witnesses their credibility and contributions to hip-hop culture. The 17th principle. Hip-hoppers are encouraged to share resources. Hip-hoppers should give as freely and as often as possible. It is the duty of every hip-hopper to assist whenever possible in the relief of human suffering and the correction of injustice. Hip-hop is shown the highest respect when hip-hoppers respect each other. Hip-hop culture is preserved, nurtured, and developed when hip-hoppers preserve, nurture, and develop one another. The 18th principle. Hip-hop culture maintains a healthy, caring, and wealthy central hip-hop guild, fully aware and invested with the power to promote, teach, interpret, modify, and defend the principles of this hip-hop declaration of peace. And there it is, my nobility. Wow. May 16, 2001. Hip-hop culture sent a delegation to the United Nations and had hip-hop culture officially recognized as an international culture of peace and prosperity. International. Before the New World Order declared itself with 9/11, September 11, 2001, when the Twin Towers were knocked down. Hip-hop culture had already established itself as the true world order. Before the New World Order, we've always been the true world order. As a matter of fact, the true world order is the fundamental, foundational principle of what we stand upon. We just call it hip-hop culture now. Hip-hop culture is just what our ancient ancestors were doing. Race, the idea that there's a white man or a black man in these different races, that's colonizer. That didn't even exist. That's why it doesn't talk about races in ancient manuscripts, because nobody thought of it. It wasn't a thing. Because we were more enlightened. Our ancestors were way more enlightened. Look at this just as an example. Look at the Mayan Zolkin calendar. Look at how advanced that calendar is. And then look at the Gregorian calendar. And look how simple and simple-minded and that calendar is. That Mayan calendar, nobody even knows how far back it actually goes. Or those who know don't say on videos and publicly. That Zolkin calendar is ancient. That goes back for millennia. That's a foundational calendar. The Mayan Zolkin is based upon the sound frequencies of the universe. They measured time and space through sound frequencies of the universe, not just the sun's movement around the earth. The Gregorian calendar, they actually stole that and then manipulated it because they didn't understand they didn't even understand the solar calendar. So when they tried to make their solar calendar for their solar cult, when they're colonizing the works and the words of Jesus Christ, when they were colonizing the Bible, when they're colonizing humanity, they colonized the calendars, and they couldn't even, they steal stuff and still don't even know how to make it work. So they hold all this knowledge about us that they keep from us, but they can't make the knowledge work. We can make the knowledge work because we are it. We're the fuel in the car. We're the creator. We're the living Spirit of God. We're the living Word of God. We're the living voice of God. I am the living image of God. Get that for yourself. Know that for thyself. Know thyself and who you really are at the fundamental, foundational place of who and what you are. You are a miracle. Be that miracle. And we're talking hip-hop culture. You as the individual need to excel at, breaking them. It was one of the 9 elements or pick up medicine and as a hip-hopper, understand how the body works and what nutrition looks like. Become a hip-hop nutritionist. Become a hip-hop, prophet. Become a hip-hop minister. Become a hip-hop doctor, whatever it is. But you're going to need to know things that nobody else knows and study things in a way nobody else studies them. And that hip-hop declaration of peace, that is fundamental. We're on the same thing these Mayans were on when they made the Zolkin. We're it. We are it. We are that thing. We are the ultimate. And everything the colonizer's sandy foundation is built to keep you from knowing yourself or keep us from discovering who we are or remembering who we are. Because remember, the colonizer is doing the work of God. They're failing on behalf of God. They're resisting us and our true humanity on behalf of God. The demons are working on behalf of God to empower us. To empower us. This week, the movie I chose, I'm not through it yet, but I saw it when it was in theaters. But this week, I've been, I watched 15, 20 minutes of a movie or 30 minutes of a movie, throughout the week. And this week I'm watching King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And there's this great moment in the movie where as the king who murdered Uther Pendragon, King Arthur's father, this king, he goes to the dark side and he starts summoning demons and he starts using all this demonic power and sacrifices his wife and, sacrifices innocent people. So as he's rising in power, the true heir to the throne, King Arthur, who was, in this movie, was kind of like a Moses moment where he's left it, he's put in he's bundled up and he's put in a boat and sailed down, and then he's, raised by, in this movie, he's not raised by the castle, he's raised by, prostitutes, right? So he doesn't even know he's King Arthur. And so everybody goes and, the king wants to find who the heir is and what happened to, his brother, Uther Pendragon, who he killed. He wants to find out what happens to the heir for the throne. And so he's going out looking for King Arthur, and Uther had put Excalibur in a stone, And when he put Excalibur in a stone, it was so that only the true heir of the kingdom could pull Excalibur out of the stone, the sword from the stone. I actually made an album called Word from the Tone, 2 albums, because sword and stone, you take the S off, you get word and tone. Encoded, man, it's encoded language. And so they made all the young men of the kingdom who would be about Arthur's age come and grab this sword from the stone, and they couldn't pull out of the stone. So he goes and he pulls it out of the stone. And he's overtaken by its power, and the adventure begins. But as he's learning to wield the power of Excalibur, the power of the word, as he's learning to wield the power of Excalibur, this mage, she's like a priestess, this mage, she says to him, he says, "Why me and why now?" Because he realizes he's the true king of Camelot. And he's like, "Why me and why now?" She says that wherever the sickness is, the cure is found nearby. And so wherever the darkness is, the light is sure to grow. As the darkness grows, so does the light. As the power of darkness grows, so does the power of the light. And so my nobility, this is what it is. As the circumstances change around us and the power of the darkness grows, I know I have Excalibur with me. My tongue is Excalibur. My word is Excalibur. My word is my sword. What is the light of your world? We talked about this, you are the light of your world. What is the light that you are wielding? What is your sword? What is your word? What is your vibration? What is your work? What is your purpose in this world that is shining forth the light of God, the light of Christ, the light of hip hop? What is it that's shining forth in this darkness? Because the circumstances have changed. The world's gotten a lot darker the last couple years. But for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, the world's also gotten a lot more light. I've got so much light flowing through me. We have so much light flowing through us. As Thoth was saying last week too, we could shun the darkness and turn our eyes towards the light of God. Turn towards God in all of this. So as the circumstances change, our fundamentals remain. The fundamentals of being a human being remain. Isn't creation wonderful? Isn't this experience wonderful to experience this? I mean, come on. The living reality, this is greater than any movie. This is greater than any television series. This is greater than any book. The actual living of it. Like the living of hip-hop. Remember, the gospel of hip-hop is the finger pointing to the destination. The destination is you being the hip-hopper you were created to be. Rise up, my nobility. In closing, let's read some ancient wisdom of the Tao Te Ching. Of the I Ching. Wrong book. Of the I Ching. This one is called Chung Fu, Inner Truth. Wind over the lake. And there's the triagram up here on the screen. You can see that. That triagram up there is called Wind over Lake. Chung Fu, Inner Truth. And this is the message right here. Because the inner truth, my nobility, inner truth, that is the fundamental principle. The inner truth. The inner man, the inner woman. Where God exists wholly and reverberates in all directions through you and through us, our inner heart, our soul. Through openness and gentleness, the correct solution is reached. And this is the solution as circumstances change. This is the fundamentals that remain. Arriving at the correct solution to a difficult situation requires a receptivity to inner truth. Unless we are willing to put aside the strong emotions of our egos and devote ourselves to discovering what is right, there can be no hope or progress at this time. Help only comes when we invite it with a sincere and innocent attitude. The I Ching teaches a simple but effective method of influencing difficult people and arduous situations. It advises us first to lay aside our prejudices, our feelings of being wounded, angry, or in the right, and second, to seek to understand the positions of others and the lessons that the sage is teaching us with the situation. Remember, my nobility, you are the sage. The sage is the higher self, the God within. Even when another is truly out of line, it is only by accepting this and remaining balanced that you make it possible for positive change to occur. Gentleness and understanding create in others an unconscious willingness to be led. This is why I don't get online and argue with people, my nobility. I used to do that. It's a waste of time because this is a higher principle, a higher way to approach things. And you'll create in others an unconscious willingness to be led by sticking to these fundamental principles here. And look at this. It's advising us that when another is truly out of line, it is only by accepting this. We accept, hey, they are out of line. I'm accepting they are out of line, but still remaining balanced. That's the center, remaining balanced, that you make it possible for positive change to occur. When we stay balanced, we accept it. We're like, they're doing us wrong right now. We accept that. But by remaining balanced, we make it possible for positive change to occur. And we create an unconscious willingness to be led in them. The superior person, therefore, avoids the use of anger and force in trying times, knowing that they are only prolonging conflict. It is far wiser to accept that each experience we have is necessary for us to learn something about ourselves and about the higher laws of life. The greatest openings come when we meet difficulty with acceptance, gentleness, and a desire to understand the lesson underneath. The first line represents strength belongs to those who are inwardly and outwardly devoted to what is good. Examine yourself for negative habits and let go of them before they cause a fall. The second line, inner strength or weakness is always being communicated to others. If you are devoted to higher things, this will be felt. If you are devoted to higher things, that will be felt. If you are not, that too will be felt. See, look at that, my nobility. Inner strength or weakness is always being communicated to others. What are you communicating to others? What are we communicating to others? If we are devoted to higher things, that will be felt. If we are not, that too will be felt. The third line, if you rely on another for your peace of mind, your balance is lost. Be neither flattered nor dismayed at fluctuations in another's affections. By maintaining inner independence, you successfully negotiate the path. There's so much to say on that one too. By neither being flattered nor displayed, that's the praises or the criticisms of the world. Don't let those perturb you or change you. People will love you one minute and hate you the next. Look at Kyrie Irving. That's happening to him right now. Look at the nurses who are being fired for not wanting to take the vaccine. They were heroes last year, and now they're villains this year, being called villains this year. But those who are wise, the world is fickle like that. The world changes its mind all the time. So don't be moved by flattery or dismayed at the fluctuations of another's affections. This happens in relationships. Men, this is very important for men. Men, be the balance in the relationship. Be the rock. Be the mountain. Be the phallic symbol. Be that masculinity in the relationship. That will help you navigate any path or negotiate any path that happens. And that keeps you in a peace of mind. Fourth line. One must recognize the source of one's power in order to maintain it. When your ego takes credit for progress, misfortune follows. When you acknowledge the help of the sage, good fortune continues. Yeah, acknowledge that it's God that's helping us. The sage is God. Our God's, the inner God within us, that's the sage. The higher self within us, that's the sage. God, the creator, that's the sage. When we acknowledge the help of the sage, good fortune continues. Fifth line, your quiet strength and devotion to inner truth can create unity where now there is chaos. Look at that. Your quiet strength and devotion to inner truth can create unity where now there is chaos. Correct yourself meticulously, and others will follow you. Correct yourself meticulously, and others will follow you. The sixth line, do not try to talk others into accepting truth. Self-development is made step by step, and each must find his own pace. Reticence towards another and innocence in your own attitude is advised. Timeless wisdom right there. Timeless wisdom. That's fundamental wisdom. Going within, looking within, correcting ourselves, maintaining our integrity, maintaining our balance, maintaining our center, maintaining our breath. Maintaining our principles, maintaining our fundamental principles, our foundational principles. No matter what the circumstances, they're going to change. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed that the circumstances of the world are going to change. The circumstances of your environment, the circumstances of your life are going to change. It's guaranteed. But the fundamentals that we work towards, those will remain. And those fundamentals, let those fundamentals be the foundation of the wise builder who built upon the rock and not upon the sand. So as the storms of life come, the rains and the winds come, it just blows the dust away and the rain washes the dirt away, and your life still stands on that foundational rock. And those who built their foundations on the sands of the colonizer, on the fickle sands of the lies of the colonizer, on the education of the colonizer, on the media of the colonizer. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face because it's symbolic, but for real, it's sad. It's sad to watch those you care about build their foundations, even sometimes half on the rock of truth of God, and then the other half is built on the colonizer's sand. That house is going to fall over into the sand and be washed away with the sand eventually. You cannot serve two masters. You can only serve one. You can't serve God and money at the same time. You either got to serve God or money. And there's no judgment from me. If you serve money, serve money. But if you serve God, serve God. We read from the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace this week. We see the fundamental principles of hip-hop culture. My nobility, go forward with those fundamental principles and apply them to your life. What are you mastering in your life? What about your life, are you meticulously going through your life? What about your life are you willing to change, or do you need to change? What is God asking you to change about your life right now this week? Now is the time to do it and make those changes. So when the storms of life come, you're prepared. God is preparing a way for us. We must be prepared for that way. God is preparing a place for us. We must be prepared for that place. God is preparing hiphopia for us. We must be prepared for hiphopia. And God is preparing these things through us. We are the hands and legs of God on earth. We are the tools and instruments of God on earth to do the work. We don't sit around waiting for God to do the work. We do the work of God in our day-to-day living. What is the work of God today for you, for tomorrow? What is the work of God in your life? What are you doing for God in your life? And only you can know, and only God can know, and then maybe some others around you will know too if you got a good support group like that. My nobility, I say it every week, we got no time to waste. I hope that I hope you find some value in these messages from the Minista. And if you find anything helpful or of any value in messages from the Minista, I'll put my PayPal link below every week. Just throw me a few bucks, whatever it is, $100 or $2, whatever, $2, $100. It doesn't matter to me. But if you get something out of this, if you don't have nothing great, it doesn't bother me either. Hit like, subscribe. Leave a comment below. It helps with the algorithm. But these are for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. And I appreciate those who watch this so much. Like my whole week is charged because each week I know I'm going to be making this video. And I'm going to be investing time and energy into this video. And it just, all it's doing is making me stronger because it's my purpose. And I don't say that as any way, but know your purpose and work towards your purpose. It took me 14 years to get here, to be able to do this on a weekly basis. It really took me a lifetime, but the last 14 years, 15 years, 16 years, wow. The last 16 years, I've been working week in and week out, day and night, on ministry, on hip hop, and on all of this. I had to master MC, and I had to master, elements and teaching and knowledge. I had to master these things to be able to do this week in and week out. 16 years to be able to do this. Be willing to invest time. Most people don't think in decades. Give yourself 10 years. If you're starting fresh, give yourself 10 years to learn and master your craft. You're going to be doing, like if you're an MC, give yourself 10 years to master MCing. On the way there, you'll be grabbing the mic, you'll be recording albums, you'll be rocking parties. But give yourself those 10 years to master it, and then give yourself 10 more years as you grow in your mastery. All you got is time, and when it's done, it's done. Are you going to look back on your life and be happy with what you created, or wish you created more? Because that's a real place to be. That's a real place that every single one of us is guaranteed to meet. The day that we leave this world, and are we leaving with a purpose fulfilled or a purpose denied? Are you going to die with a purpose fulfilled or a purpose denied? And I think denied is how you actually would die, because a purpose fulfilled is life. It's eternal life. There it is, my nobility. Peace and soul, much love to you. Hip! Love, truth, peace, God.